Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey, welcome to Get Out There and Get Known podcast. We are just sailing into 2022, and this is probably one of the most important podcasts that I've ever done because it's with someone that I really stumbled upon a few weeks ago because I was looking about media in Boston. And Boston is a major media market, and it's not really a large population of African Americans there. And so, I'm all about African American media, Black media, and that sort of thing. So I was looking at the Black media that they have there, the Black newspapers, Black radio stations. It's a few. Had some clients that were really interested in doing that. And then I happened to up on Black News Hour by the Boston Globe. And I'm like, what? What is that? And so as I begin to snoop, journalism is my background, so I do my little investigative things here, and I look upon Greg. And Greg is the senior assistant managing editor, talent and community at the Boston Globe. And he also was former president of NABJ. So I definitely know about NABJ, local chapter here in Detroit. Shout out to Detroit. But he was the national president of NABJ. And so when I looked at what he was doing and the Black News Hour, it was basically, it's like a collective, I guess you would say, of the Black journalists at the Boston Globe, probably a good maybe handful, where they deliver really news that connects the community and goes in deeper, which is, I love that, into issues of impacting the city. So it's watched on Roku, Apple, Twitter Live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, all that kind of stuff, Boxcast, and also WCB TV as well. But it's a way for the news to go a little bit deeper in terms of what Black journalists have to do. So Greg's background, he has been at various different places in his career, and I give you a little bit of his bio. You can kind of read it down there at the bottom, but he really runs the newsroom over there at the Globe, right? He is one of the senior editors. He's head of the recruiting efforts as well, staffing the newsroom. He also serves really as a role in assisting the Globe to build communities around the newsroom's work to attract new readers and strengthen the bonds with the subscribers that the Globe has. But one of the things that you don't know, or maybe you do know, is that this is the second stint that he's been at the Globe. He's spent 8 years there. In 2004 to 12 as a senior assistant sports editor, which is pretty interesting. I wonder if he knows any of the sports writers that I can ask him about in a minute. And then he returns after a 2-year stint, really now as a senior managing editor. And so of the Athletic DC, after return from the Athletic DC, then he had previous stops in between there. He was at New Orleans. He was at the Washington Post. He was in Fort Lauderdale. He worked at the NBA.com at Turner Sports. And then, like I said, he was a former president of NABJ and also a winner of an award, the Missouri Honor Medal. So he's from New Orleans. He happens to be a New Orleans Saints fan. Hey, I'm from Detroit, so I'm just glad of anybody to get somebody that's winning. So Detroit Lions. So I'm going to bring up now Greg Lee. Hey, Greg.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. So that's interesting. So sports was like your thing. That is very interesting. So one of the things I wanted to know just right off the bat, if you knew Drew Sharp. Drew Sharp was with the Detroit Free Press.
Drew Sharp was a legendary columnist there, and he was a big voice there in that city. I know he's missed by a lot of colleagues, and it was interesting to read his words after the Michigan Ohio State game.
I know.
Drew, very big voice, and it's very missed there. I'm sure of that.
Yeah. He's a cousin. He's a cousin by marriage. Mark and Drew are first cousins. And so Scott Perry is also a cousin as well. So we have this whole thing about the sports and all of that. And then Drew's wife, went to Michigan State. Of course, Drew went to Michigan, so it was always interesting when those Michigan State goes up. So, yeah, it was always just crazy. So yeah, he passed, but he lived the life that he wanted to live. I mean, he had the big time thing that he loved sports his entire life, and he was like the sports writer in Detroit. So yeah, so that was, I mean, if you can kind of say, he did it for 30 years, and he did
what he liked, and he loved doing it. And he did an excellent job. Like I said, he was the voice of Detroit. I mean, there was him and Mitch Albom, but for Black journalists, sports journalists, look to Drew Sharp.
That was it. So tell us a little bit about why you got into journalism. It wasn't so that you can report the sports news. So what was for you?
I got because I did love sports. I mean, I like sports. It's been ingrained in my life. I've been like that since I was a kid. My people growing up in church in New Orleans used to nickname me Howard Cosell because I knew everything about sports. So, well, I never thought I could have a career in journalism. I never knew in my family there was no exposure in my life to journalism, hands on. My parents thought I was going to be a lawyer. I thought I was going to go to law school, to be honest.
Okay.
And I was going to do that, but when I went to college at Xavier University in New Orleans, I started off. There was a path for me. I started as a mass communications department. There was a school paper. There was a TV station. I was doing TV first. I was starting to be a broadcast journalist, and then I looked at the student paper and I saw how the stuff in the sports section was wrong and bad edits. And I challenged the editor and said, well, since you know so much, you think you know so much, why don't you come work for us? And I did.
And that's how it started. I love HBCUs, man. They will pull it out of you, won't they? They will pull it out of you. And so you were doing broadcasting, you went into print, and then you just kind of like took over, and it's like like a fish to water, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. So that's how it all started, to be honest.
And so how did you get involved with NABJ? Was it in college? Was it after?
Yeah, I started off, I actually founded our student chapter on campus. And then when I got out of college at Xavier, I was working at the Times-Picayune, the local paper. I was already there. I started at the local paper when I was in college in 19. So I was already in the newspaper in college. And
so you had clips.
Yeah, I had clips. I had stuff. I had things going on already in my sophomore year in college. And I started off the student chapter there when I was in college there. And then when I got out of school, I started off as a chapter treasurer of the New Orleans chapter of Black journalists. And I grew from there and then became chapter president. And I helped run a regional conference where we had the Gulf State regions and some of the Midwest come to a conference in New Orleans. And I was the host chapter, and I planned all that stuff. And next thing you know, national leadership was tapping me to run for the board of directors. And then that all started off the long run of service to the organization. So they got me as a kid, basically. And I didn't know what I was doing back then, and I didn't know it was going to lead to all of this. But yeah, it started off as anything in life, humble beginnings. Start off at the bottom and work your way up.
And one of the things about NABJ, because I was involved in NABJ in college as well, and then out of college, is that the mission of NABJ is that everybody works together to help one another. There's recruiters that people can meet at the conventions. There's professional development seminars. There's authors that come to NABJ. Obviously, there's great speakers and all of that. So it's if you're in communications, journalism, any of that, you should be at NABJ. And so for you to rise through the ranks of that is they're pretty stringent. And they've been around over 40 years.
Yeah.
So they're pretty stringent.
We're celebrating another birthday and 11 days actually in NABJ. So
wow.
December 12th. So we have another birthday coming up. So NABJ is still going, even though we've had remote conventions in the last 2 years, and we hope to reunite in person in Las Vegas in 2022. So we're knocking on wood. Hopefully Omicron stays at bay.
That's one of the things too, because our NABJ, the Detroit chapter, has an event this coming Saturday, and it's with they're honoring Rochelle Riley.
Yes,
and Rochelle Riley, they're going to have some virtual people there she's getting inducted in the Detroit NABJ Hall of Fame. Yeah. And so it's very rare that there is in the media space, especially with what I call the major media, that you find journalists that have moved up into management. So Rochelle was a columnist. She wasn't necessarily a manager, but it was Felicia Henderson. She was a managing editor at Detroit News. So tell us what it's like to really, go to a HBCU, really be down with your people. NABJ, definitely they give you the mindset of like, we've got to support each other, and then go to work for something like the Boston Globe. So is that how and why you did the Black News Hour, or just kind of give us?
Yeah, it's just the natural progression of what I've done starting off as a kid. And like I had opportunity to be a reporter when I graduated from college. And my editor, when I was at the Times-Picayune, asked me when I graduated, "What do you want to do, Greg? Do you want to be I have a reporting job for you. I have an editing job for you." That's it. Since I've been around here for a couple of years and I watched the internal machinations of the whole newsroom, I want your job one day. So I'm gonna take the editing route and the management route. So I've learned so much over the years from different newsroom leaders and different places I've been in, and really taken parts of leadership styles that I like and I don't like, but I've learned about the business since a kid. And you pick up a lot of things over the years when you are around great leaders. And I've been fortunate and blessed to be around great leaders in newsrooms and stuff. So, and also at the same time, I always was myself. I never changed who I was when I first started. So when employers wanted to recruit me and want me to come to their newsroom, they knew they were going to get my authentic self. I was always going to be authentic. I was going to be myself. I was going to be a kid from New Orleans who went to an HBCU who believes in service and believe in giving back, and also giving back to not only my people, but people who are underserved in our communities and underserved in newsrooms. So that's going to be at the foundation of any time you want to engage me in a conversation and joining your organization. Well, that's me. Otherwise, if you don't have those tenets, I'm not coming.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons probably why you're successful, because it's easy for you to be you. You don't have to like play the politics. You don't have to like disguise the fact that I'm for my people or whatever. So how did the Black News Hour come about? How did that actually, because I love the concept. I mean, it's like, that's a feat. I congratulate you on that. It really is.
Yeah, it's actually funny how it worked out, because Pastor Bruce Wall, who hosts the studio, has his own network, and he actually reached out to my boss, the editor Brian McGrory, about doing a partnership. He wanted the Boston Globe to have his journalists to do a show on his network. So my boss put that in my plate and asked me to look into it. So I looked into it and I did my homework. We did a lot of negotiations. I brought in my editors, gave me the free reign to go in and figure this out. And working with the marketing team, the business unit, the business side is all in. They're helped out. Definitely the journalist is helping out. I from the perch I sit as a managing editor, I have access to the talent and asked them if they want to help out in the project. When we had a lot of brainstorming sessions, and after about 5 months, we decided, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do one show a month for the first one was in September. And we said we're going to look at the rest of the year. We do one show a month, and on a Friday, and 8 to 9 a.m. And we'll see how it goes. And I'm telling you, we got so much after the first show. We got so much great feedback from the community. It's like people calling us; they want to join it. They want to be on the show. So we've had dynamic guests on the show, especially this year with the historic mayor's race we had here in the city. Mm-hmm. We had both the candidates on. We had the DA Rachel Rollins, who's up for a U.S. attorney, which is now being held up by the Senate. But she wanted to be on our show. She was on the show,
and the show is basically brand new.
Yes,
and it's on the station or network owned by a pastor.
Yes.
Shout out to the pastors of trying to do community change, right? It's just that's never going to end. That's never going to end.
So Pastor Wall, he's a media consumer. He said he wanted the Globe's journalism to be on his show because he felt that we were credible. And I said, we can do this. But also for us, we know that this is an area of the community we need to reach. We need to go. Our journalism, where we write stories about disparities in school systems and law enforcement and criminal justice, sports, and all that stuff. But we know what our demographics are when it comes to people who actually subscribe to us. The stories that we're writing about and reporting may not necessarily get to an audience. So this is a perfect opportunity to share to my team and say, look, we have to go where the audience is, and where the audience is here.
Yes.
And and so they believe in that vision, and I have the full support of my organization now. You know, from our CEO, who's very excited about this effort. We've also co-sponsored a couple of events that's going on in the city with Black News at Boston, with Black News Hour. We started a newsletter. We did our first newsletter last week. I'm actually in the middle of editing our second one right now.
I got the
We want to do a podcast to go with this. So we have a web page to go with it. Our staff.
The web page is awesome. The web page. What's the URL to the web page?
It's on bostonglobe.com, and you can find it on the Metro section. It probably could do bostonglobe.com/BNH.
Yes. I love that. That is, so, it is. When I looked at it, I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
And doing this website, a young sister on our staff actually designed it. She wanted to do this. This is nothing that this is part of my job as talent person, is that I want our young talent people to get more experience, to experiment, to do different things. So the great thing about this show too, it also serves a purpose as a training ground for some of our younger journalists to get them more exposure, to show the community that we have these young people working in our organization. So it gives them extra skills. We have one young lady who's in for a fellowship program. She's one of our producers. She's never done broadcasting or radio and like that stuff. She's writing scripts for us. She's now writing our newsletter. So not only it helps us bring our message to the community in terms of our stories and our journalism, it's also training our young people and developing, giving skills to my staffers, a new platform, a new canvas for them to expand themselves. So it's really worked out in a lot of ways, and what I do and the things that this whole show, this whole concept really serves multiple purposes.
And it's on Roku as well. It's on
Roku, yep.
All of that. But then also too, like you said, it's going to be a podcast as well. It's just one of those things where in the perfect world, what you all have done is just amazing. I wish that all major markets where there are NABJ people like you that can spearhead things like that, because it does dive in deeper into the issues, and it brings people to the forefront for them to be interviewed, because there's only so many stations that, ABC, NBC, CBS, and, so they may not cover African-American issues as deep as you all do. I mean, they may do it Sunday and, that kind of thing, and they relegate it to the weekend, but you all are doing it 8 to 9 on Fridays. Is it only one day a week now?
Actually, our next show is on December 17th. So, we're going to try to expand out, to do more shows in a week. But when we get, if we get more support in terms of it costs money. So we got to get sponsorships and business plans. And our business plans are coming up. We plan in 2022. We have support. Like I said, our marketing sales teams are behind this. So, and for us to do more shows, which we want to do, we got to get more resources. That's the realistic, because my team is excited. Everyone in the company is excited. I slow them down until we get more resources, let's just do the best shows we can once a week, and everything else will fall into place.
So the advertising, this is just kind of like a question, because I worked in advertising at the Detroit Free Press. So does the advertising team, would they sell the digital, obviously part of Boston Globe, and they'll also sell the print, the main sheet, but could they sell the show as well as a? They
could. I mean, it's just be another carrot, another vehicle for a partnership. To do that. So this is another way for them to partner with the Globe and sponsor. So yes. So this is like I said, the marketing and sales team is very excited about the possibilities of this show and what we developed so far. So once we get those official sponsorships and stuff of that sort, I'm sure we'll be expanding the show, because I got my other job. I got other jobs I got in my portfolio to do, and this takes up a lot of my time, which is fine. I'm not an expert in this space. I am not an expert. I am not an executive producer or director or producer or show manager. I got all this stuff I'm doing with the help of my great team. But my team has day jobs too. They're reporters, they're producers, and other things. So we're all doing this as an addition to the things we have to do on a daily basis.
It is, and that's one of the things. Vicki Thomas from Detroit. She's on NABJ's board, and she says that when she was in radio, that not only when she started, you just report it, and then you kind of go back and you give it to the people to put it together. But now it's like I got to do the video while I'm there. I've got to edit it in the truck. I've got to do the blog, maybe do the tweets, and then do the social media. It's like
social media. That's nothing. We got a social media team with us too. I have a social media team. Like I'm looking at my board now. We got Facebook, we got IG, TikTok. We got to do it. We got YouTube. So Twitter Spaces. We're going to do this on Clubhouse.
Twitter Spaces. So yeah.
So
the social audio thing is for real. That's real. Like
we actually have a team who comes to our show every week, and they record our show and they make clips for us for the marketing clips, so we can do the marketing stuff. So we have support. We have support from our marketing team, and they budget. And I got now we have show mugs. I have one mug now, and I just showed yesterday that we have now. And gift bags when they sponsor these events, they have like the Black News Hour notebook with the name and logo and stuff on. I was like, "Where's mine?" But it's just amazing to see how fast this is growing and what we're doing and the buy-in from our team. So I'm excited about that and all its possibilities. But as you mentioned, it takes representation to bring these things together, and we need more representation, like myself, in newsrooms around the country. And it's growing. We see Black women taking over leading papers in Dallas and in Houston and Miami, in Charlotte. So we're starting to slowly taking over newsrooms and bring our diversity. I'm bringing bringing our ideas to the table and make things happen. Before we couldn't make things happen. So you need people. The most important thing is that's why we continue in NBJ to fight for representation, not only reporting stories, but people who actually make decisions, who make things happen. And that's why the Globe brought me back, because they know I can make things happen, and they know what I did when I was here 9 years ago, and I'm back. So having that representation in the newsroom matters, and it has impact.
And I like the fact that the Black News Hour is one of those things where it's how do I say, it's in the community, but also it's a training ground for journalists. But you're also having people who typically wouldn't have shine in the media. You're giving them an opportunity. So how do people pitch to be a part of the show? How would they go about pitching you if they say, hey, I'd like to, voice whatever it is, I'd like to talk about, so give you an example. So I have a client that is really into real estate investment in the Boston area. So he's teaching other Black men also how to buy property, how to fix it up, how to rent it out, and how to really talk about legacy building, because it's really in real estate. And you could do it. He shows people how to do it. So how would he go about coming on to talk about that? Or
actually, people, actually a couple weeks ago, I had breakfast with someone in that very space you're talking about, and talking about Black businesses and stuff. I actually had a good conversation with someone about that, and we'll have a show about that at some point. People email me stuff. They'll talk to our reporters. That very person I'm talking about right now talked to my reporter, who's actually one of the co-hosts, and said they would like to talk to me about it. So my reporters get back to me and say such and such wants to be on the show, discuss things with you. So, my email address is easy, greg.lee@globe.com. People reach out to me, my reporters who are part of the show, especially Black reporters. They come back to me and says such and such wants to be on the show. Okay, let me know. We'll work it out. So right now it's mom and pop, so to speak, because we're just starting. At some point, we will have someone else taking care of show bookings, and we've already planned out this next show next week. It's going to be on sports and entertainment in Boston. Next in January, we're going to have the Emancipator Takeover, where we have a new publication that we're starting. That's being launched by our team. We're partnering with Boston University with Dr. The Anti-Racism Center at Boston University. So that publication is launching, and I believe in January. So they're going to do a whole show on that next month in January.
That is good.
We're looking forward to that. That's going to be January 28th. A great lead into Black History Month. And actually, speaking of Black History Month, we're probably going to do 2 shows on Black History Month, and we're definitely going to do a show on disparities in health, especially in Boston. So we're definitely going to do a show. Especially, we have actually the Boston Globe. We have a company called STAT, covers the medical field, medical profession, and it's very big. So we're gonna partner with them to do a show about we haven't nailed down the topics, but definitely gonna be centered on Black health, mental health, COVID, and the disparities that COVID has shown us. So we're gonna be issue oriented show.
And that really keeps the Globe, I guess you would say, not your grandma's and granddad's newspaper. I mean, it still is. They still probably reading it, but then also too, the younger people are reading it too, because you've got more cachet and brand, and you're more in the community and that sort of thing. So that's
last year we talked about the supporting Black businesses. We had a young lady who's an entrepreneur who's opened up a pop-up store during the Christmas holidays on one of the most elite streets of shopping in Boston, Newbury Street. So we put her on the show, and then we had the funny thing is we had the president of the Black Economic Council on the show. Yeah. And the funny thing was the night before he just accepted taking the lead economic role for the new mayor's administration. So it was great to have him on the show. So
he was like breaking news.
Yeah. He broke it right the night before. I'm like, did you hear the news, Greg? I came to the studio. Said, did you hear the news? I said, no, what happened? Oh. He just took the job with the mayor's office. Oh, we can talk to the man about the mayor's the new administration's take on they're supporting the Black businesses in Boston. So it's great to have a new hire on the show. So
yes, and that's breaking news. And I've heard of that Black Chamber of Council?
The Black Economic Council. Yeah. So Beckman it's called. It's known as Beckman. And this show we sponsored the Black Expo last week, and we actually that same show he was on, we streamed our show at his convention. So
oh my God,
partnership there. So this is a fast moving but still growing enterprise. So
it is.
It's amazing the things that we've been able to accomplish since we launched in September. And it's all because of Pastor Wall reaching out just cold to our editor. And all because of that, and it was received, and I was the person who was on his plate to make it happen, and here we are now.
That is cool. Well, your career, all of the pieces of your career in the past have all led up to this.
Yes.
So like you said, the first part when you I was going to go into broadcasting, but then I switched over to this, and then I switched over into the management editorial. Then all of it leads up to all of this where we are right now. And what I like about it is that you are evolving. Like you said, Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, social media, all of that. And when we talk about communications, that's really important. So one of the things about Black media is that we want to make sure our stories are told. And one of the things that it's not just about like selling your books or making sure that people hear you so they can book you to speak or whatever, but it's like, how are you helping the community? And so from watching your show or seeing what you're doing, that's what I want people to understand. It's like, okay, you can come on the show. You can actually tell the reporter your story, but how are you helping the community? What's the impact? Why would the audience care? I would say so why would they care? And then I get those looks like, I don't know why they would care. I said, well, then you got to go back to the drawing board, come back with a different pitch so that you can know why people care. And people care about what's going to help them, not the other person. Right. So that's really, really good. That is really good.
Yeah, and our leaders have really identified, they really were really amazed at the amazing reception towards this. So thus the enthusiasm that they're shown behind this endeavor. So it's been exciting, and it's just exciting for all of us at the Globe, and we just keep growing. So
yeah, that is good. And one of the things that I don't know if Pastor Walls, if his organization is a nonprofit or not.
It is nonprofit. It's funny because I told him when he started this, you're going to start, you open a Pandora's box for yourself. You're going to have people calling you and asking you to consult with you how to do this, other pastors. And what happened, his phone's been ringing off the hook. I said, I know. Told you to be prepared, man.
And then just apply for grants. I mean, if he is a nonprofit, then he can apply for grants for that. I think there is a lot of them. Google gives out grants. I mean, it's a whole lot.
He knows that. The funny thing is that the man is 73 years old, and he does all the technology. He managed the show for us. He actually used the soundboard. He manages the cameras. He does stuff. But the funny thing is, he's also teaching my young person who's our stage manager how to do these things and how to do the board and using the phone and switch and stuff. So he's teaching my staff how to do this stuff. And this is a 73-year-old pastor doing this stuff.
I love it.
So I'm amazed by him. Like, more than me with this technology. I'm just here to help you out with my resources and support you. But it's just amazing how we teach each other these things. But it's just amazing, the 73-year-old man doing this, and it's really amazing. And I just told him, be ready, because the phone is ringing off the hook for him. It is.
Man, I remember Dr. George Fraser said this. He said, you're just really getting started at age 70. And I'm like, what? He says, yeah, you got a whole lot of stuff to be doing. I'm like, okay. I said, we see, he said, yeah, you just getting started at 70. So it's just kind of like, he's just leading the way, right? It's just like, okay, so this is what you're supposed to be doing at 73. You're supposed to be starting shows, showing people how to really do the next level stuff. So that is cool. That is cool.
And if it was up to my dad, if you let my dad tell the story, it says, well, you belong doing this. My dad's a preacher. So it's like, you're doing this in the church. So my dad laughs at me all the time and said, yep, that's where you belong. So
that was it. Everything all kind of like
it all comes full circle. So I'm like, okay, Dad, I got you. Got me.
Every major movement in the Black community really does have its roots in the church. That is one of the main things, from MLK to any of those things. They all begin in the church. So that's not unusual, that part of it. So it's just that making sure that all the Black journalists that follow behind you really know that, and then they make sure the next generation behind it that they're helping and they're serving and they're just really lifting up the community as well. That's really what the whole thing is about. That's what NABJ is about.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, so we're doing that. Well, thank you so much, Greg. I promised you 30 minutes because I know you're a busy guy. So we're at 30:31. And so I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I put down at the bottom, people can go and actually check it out at bostonglobe.com/BNH for Black News Hour to really listen to the podcast, watch it on Roku, all that kind of stuff, and then leave comments, and then follow them on social media and retweet them and all that kind of stuff. So
sign up for the newsletter.
And sign up for the newsletter, which is the second issue is coming out soon. Right.
It's coming out Friday.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And I think people really get a lot of value from what you're doing. And you are really it's a model for what other markets can do as well. So thank you so much for joining. Get out there and get known.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com.